She thought about all the things she could do with the money she could finally help her family back in the village. She could save enough money to travel abroad just like Udak did, and once she got there, she could start a new life, a better life. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the writing to do. Once upon a time in a big town of Lagos, there lived a loving couple called Emma and Michael Emma. And Michael had been married for 4 years, and their love for each other was strong. But there was something missing, something they both longed for: a baby. They had tried everything, visiting doctors and hoping with all their hearts, but still Emma wasn't pregnant. One evening, after another long day, Emma sat quiet in their living room. She felt the emptiness growing inside her, a sadness that wouldn't go away. Michael walked in and saw the pain in her eyes. He knew exactly what she was feeling, because he felt the same way too. Kami, Michael said softly, sitting down beside her, I know this is hard, but we can't give up hope. I looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. Di, it's been 4 years, 4 years of trying and waiting. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Dee took her hand, holding her gently. I feel the same way, KY. But we have to keep trying. There has to be a way for us to have a baby. Emma shook her head, tears sleeping down her cheeks. But what if there isn't? What if we are meant to be childless? I see babies everywhere, and it breaks my heart every time Dee's heart ached for his wife. He hated seeing her so much in pain. Amy, we don't know what the future holds, but I do know that we can't give up. We have to keep believing that there is a way for us to have the family we want. KY wiped her tears, trying to be strong. I want to believe that, Michael, but it's so hard every time I see another negative test or hear the doctor's disappointing words. I feel like a little piece of my heart breaks. Dee pulled her into a hug, holding her close. I know, Emma, I know, but we will get through this together. We will keep looking for answers until we find one that works for us. Give an order against his chest, finding comfort in his embrace. Okay, Michael, we will keep trying, but I am scared. I'm scared of what might happen if we never have a baby. Michael kissed the top of her head. We will face whatever comes together. Emma, we will find a way, even if it's not the way we expected. As they sat there holding each other, a new resolve began to form in their hearts. They didn't have all the answers, but they knew they had to keep going. They had to keep searching for a way to make their dream come true. A few days later, after another disappointing visit to the doctor, Emma and Michael sat down in their living room, the weight of the news heavy on their shoulders. The DO had told them that their chances of having baby of their own were very slim. It was a blow they hadn't expected, and it left them feeling lost than ever. Michael broke the silence, his voice filled with a mix of hope and desperation. Kami, what if we asked someone to carry the baby for us? Emma looked at him, surprised. What do you mean, Michael? How would that even work? Michael leaned forward, his eyes serious. I've been thinking about it. There are women who help couples like us. They carry the baby for them. It's called surrogacy. G's mind spawned with new idea. It was something she had never considered before. But who would do that for us? Who could? We asked Michael Pade, choosing his words carefully. I don't know yet, but there are women who do this. It's not common, but it's possible. Maybe someone we know could help, or we could find someone that would be willing. Emma felt a mix of emotion, hope, fear, and uncertainty. But how would we start? And what if it doesn't work? Took her hand with a reassuring grip. We would have to be careful. KY, we have to think about it, talk to the right people, and make sure it's the right choice for us. But it could be our chance to finally have the baby we've always dreamed of. Kim's heart pounded as she considered the idea. It was a big decision, one that could change their lives forever. But it also felt like a ray of hope in the darkness they had been living in. Michael, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. Maybe it's worth thinking about. Michael noted, we don't have to decide right now. Let's take our time, think about it, and see if this is the answer we've been looking for. KY agreed. Her mind was still buzzing with possibilities. It was a new path, one they hadn't considered before. But as they sat together, the idea of surrogacy began to take root in their minds. It was a risky decision, but it might be the one that would finally bring them the child they so desperately wanted. Emma and Mikhaili had been thinking a lot about who they would trust to help them with their new plan. They kept coming back to the same person, and their house help, Eno, had been with them for years. She was more than just the house help. She was part of their family. They knew they could trust her, and she was young and strong. Maybe she could help them one morning after breakfast. Emma and Michael asked Ino to sit down with them in the living room. In no surprise by their request, wiped her hand on her apron and sat down. She could see that something serious was on their mind. And no KY began, her voice gentle but a bit nervous. We have something important to talk to you about. And I looked at them curious and little worried. Yes, Ma, is everything okay? Michael noted. Try to put her at ease. Everything is fine. But we have a special request and we want you to think about it carefully. Ian's eyes widened. She had no idea what they were about to ask, but she could tell it was serious. What is it, sir? Emma and McKaylee exchanged a glance. And then Emma spoke again. And you know how much we've wanted to have a baby, but it hasn't been possible for us. We've been thinking about other ways to have a child, and we wanted to ask if you would be willing to carry our baby for us. Anna's mouth fell open in shock she hadn't expected. This at all carry your baby, she repeated. Trying to understand. Yes, Michael said quietly. We would need someone to help us. Someone we trust. We thought of you because you are like family to us. We would take care of everything, and of course, we would pay you well for it. Em and Ed, we know it's a lot to ask, but we don't want you to feel pressured. But if you agree, we are willing to pay you a lot of money, millions of naira, and head spa with the information. Millions of naira, that was more money than she had ever seen in her life. But this wasn't just about money. This was about something much bigger. I don't know what to say, and I finally managed to stammer. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Emma reached out and touched her hand. We understand enough. It's a huge decision. We just wanted to talk to you about it because we trust you, but please don't feel like you have to decide now. Dee noted in agreement. Take your time and think about it. Talk to us. If you have any question, we will support you now. Matter what you decide, and Uned's still in shock. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, sir. I will think about it. As she stood up and left the room. Her mind was filled with thousands of thoughts, millions of naira carrying a baby. It was so overwhelming she had to think, and she had to think carefully. This was a decision that could change her life forever that night. Ino lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She couldn't sleep. Her mind was too busy replaying the conversation she had with Emma and Michael over and over again. They wanted her to carry their baby. They were offering her millions of naira to do it. It was an offer that could change everything for her, but it was also so big, so serious, that she didn't know if she could do it. Ino thought about her life, her family back in the village, and how much this money could help them. She had always wanted to do something big for her family, to lift them out of poverty. This could be her chance, but carrying someone else's baby, that was a lot to ask. She thought about Emma, and daily they had always been good to her, treating her with kindness and respect. She knew how much they wanted a child, how much they had suffered because they couldn't have one. She wanted to help them, but this was such a big decision. What if something goes wrong? Ina whispered to herself in the room. What if I regret it? Her mind kept running around, not giving her any peace. She wished she could talk to someone about it. But who would understand? This wasn't something she could just ask someone's advice on. It was too private and outside, and turned over in her bed, trying to find a comfortable position. She knew she needed to make a decision. But how could she choose? The money was tempting, but the responsibility was overwhelming. As hours passed and the night grew deeper, and No still couldn't sleep. She kept thinking, wondering what she would do. She wanted to make the right choice, but how could she know what the right choice was in the end? And I knew she needed more time. She couldn't decide something this big overnight. She had to think, to weigh everything carefully. But the more she thought about it, the more confused she felt the next day. And I was still deep in thought about Emma and Michael's offer. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in a big way, but she wasn't sure if it would be for what it was. As she cleaned the kitchen, her phone rang. It was her friend Udar calling from abroad. Ino quickly wiped her hands and picked up the call. UW, how are you? Ino exclaimed, trying to sound cheerful despite her heavy thoughts. I'm fine, my sister. How are things over there? Ud's voice was full of energy, and Ino could hear the excitement in her tone. I'm okay, just thinking about some things, and I replied. Thinking about what's going on? Bu asked with a serious tone she knew, and know well enough to know when something was bothering her, and hesitated for a moment, then decided to tell UD everything came me and Michael, my madam. and a they. Asked me to do something big for them. They want me to carry their baby. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then WW's voice came through, filled with surprise. What they want you to carry their baby, and no, that's huge. I know, right? And they said they would pay me millions of naira if I agree to do it, and explained millions of naira. Udak repeated, sounding shocked. That's a lot of money, and no. But are you sure about this? Have you thought it through, Andos S deeply? I don't know. UD, it's so much to think about. I want to help them. But this is a big decision. I'm not sure if I can do it. Udak was quiet for a moment. Then she said, no. Let me tell you something. Life here abroad is better. People who work hard can make good money. And they live well. If you had that kind of money, you could come here and start a new life and make even more money. This could be your chance. No listened carefully. Her mind was starting to raise with possibilities she had always dreamed. Of a better life, of doing something big for herself and her family. Maybe this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. But can I really do with food work? Can I really carry someone else's baby? Anas is still unsure. Think about it. And no, this is your chance to change your life. You could save the money, come here and start fresh. Imagine what that kind of money could do for you and your family. This could be the beginning of something great. Wak encouraged her, and I was silent. Hudak's words made sense. This could be her big chance. But was she ready to take it later that night? En lay in bed, staring at the ceiling again. But this time, her mind wasn't confused as before. WW's words kept echoing in her head. This could be her big chance. This could be the opportunity to change her life, to do something great for herself and her family. She thought about all the things she could do with the money. She could finally help her family back in the village. She could save enough money to travel abroad, just like Udak did. And once she got there, she could start a new life, a better life. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the right thing to do. The next morning, Eno made up her mind. She was going to do it. She was going to accept Emma and Michael's offer. It wasn't going to be easy, but she knew it was the right decision. After breakfast, Ina approached Emma and Michael, who were sitting in the living room. Ma, sir, I've thought about what you asked me, and began. Emma and Dee looked up. Their expression was hopeful but cautious, and Emma asked, her heart pounding a little faster, and Not took a deep breath. I've decided to help you. I will carry your baby for you. A wave of relief washed over KY, and they both smiled, their eyes bright with gratitude. Thank you, and you don't know how much this means to us. Emma said, we will make sure everything goes smoothly, and as we promised, we will pay you very well for this daily. Added with a serious tone of gratitude, and I trust you both, I know. This is the right thing to do. As she left the room, and felt a strange mix of emotions, nervous excitement, and a little bit of fear. But deep down, she knew she was making the right choice. This was her chance to change her life, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. Emma and Michael were over the moon when En agreed to carry their baby the next day. They called her into the living room to discuss the details, and no, we want to make sure everything is clear and fair. H began, we are going to pay you millions of naira for helping us, and we want to sign an agreement to make it official. D noted in agreement, yes and no. This agreement is for your protection and ours. It will say that after you have the baby, we will be the parents, and you will get the money we promised. And sat quietly listening. She knew this was a big step, but she had already made up her mind. She had a plan that no one else knew about. Michael continued, we've talked to our lawyer, and he has prepared the documents. Once you sign, everything will be set. Are you ready? And a small smile on her face. I am ready. I trust you both, and I know you will keep your promise. KY reached out and took Ina's hand. Thank you, Eno. We are so grateful. You are giving was the greatest gift Daly handed, and the agreement, she carefully signed her name as she did. She couldn't help but think about the future. The money they promised would be her ticket to a new life, far away from here. But she kept those thoughts to herself. After the agreement was signed, Emma and Michael hid, and their faces glowing with happiness. They had no idea that Anna was already thinking about what she would do after she had the baby. Months went by, and soon Eno became pregnant. Emma and Michaeli were overjoyed. They treated Eno with extra care, making sure she was comfortable and healthy. As the pregnancy progressed and began to show, and KY couldn't hide her excitement. And no, look at you. You are glowing, KY said one morning as they sat together in the living room. I can't wait to meet our baby. Eno smiled, but inside she felt a mix of emotion. She knew that this baby would change everything, but she was also focused on the future that lay ahead. Finally, the day came and I went into labor, and after hours of pain, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. Hai and Michael were by her side the whole time, tears of joy streaming down from their faces as they saw their son for the first time. Welcome to the world, Williams. Michael whispered as he held the tiny baby in his arms. You are a miracle. Emma couldn't stop crying as she looked at her son, his perfect Michele, our perfect little boy. They named him Williams, and from that day on came, and Michael treated him like their own child. They were the happiest they had ever been. And I watched quietly as they bonded with the baby. She saw the love in their eyes, but she also knew that this was just the beginning. She had done what they asked, and now it was time to wait and see how everything would unfold. Zion. Michael adored to be and thought about the millions of naira she was set to receive. She knew that once she had that money, she would finally be able to pursue her dreams. But for now, she remained in the background watching as Emma and Michael celebrated the new addition to their family. A year had passed since Williams's birth, and life in the house was filled with joy. Emma and DLA were over the moon when they leered that and was pregnant again this time with a baby girl one evening as they sat in the living room. KY smiled warmly at Eno. You've made our lives complete. Eno, first Williams, and now we are going to have a daughter. We can't thank you enough. Bill added, we are thinking about naming her IR, which means hope she's our little. Hope, just like Williams, is our miracle, and smiled back at them. But deep inside her mind was elsewhere. She thought about the future, about her life, about the life she was planning, far away from this house. ITI is a beautiful name, Ando said softly. I'm happy that I could help. Kim reached out and squeezed En's hand. You are more than just our help, and you are family. We will always be here for you. As the pregnancy progressed, Emma and Michael continued to treat Eno with kindness and care, not knowing that she was counting down the days until she could leave when the time came and give birth to a healthy baby girl. KY and Michael were happy. They showered the baby with love and attention, just like they had done with Williams. Our family is complete now, KY said as she cradled ER in her arms. We have everything we have ever wanted, Bill noted in agreement. Thank you, Eno. You've given us the greatest gift. But while KY and Michael celebrated their growing family, and I was already thinking ahead, planning her next move as the weeks turned into months, and I began to save the money that came, and Michael gave her. She didn't spend a dime more than she needed to. Every naira was carefully saved, adding to the amount that would help her start a new life one evening after. Putting the children to bed, Eno sat down quietly in her room, packing her things. She moved silently, careful not to wake anyone. She had made up her mind tonight was the night she would leave with her bag packed and took one last look around the room. This house had been her home for years, but now it was time to move on. As she reached the door and hesitated, she thought about Williams and Ertie, the children she had brought into the world, but she pushed the thought aside. This was something she had to do for herself without another word. Eno slipped out of the house into the night. She made her way to the airport, and within hours she was on a plane leaving Nigeria behind. She didn't leave a note or any clue as to where she had gone. Emma and Michael woke up the next morning to find Eno's room empty. They were shocked, confused, and worried. They had no idea why she would live so suddenly and without saying goodbye. Where could she have gone? Emma asked, her voice filled with concern. Michael shook his head. I don't know, but we will find her. We have to. But despite their effort, and there was nowhere to be found, she had disappeared. Without a trace, leaving Emma and Michael with the two children she had helped bring into the world, Anna's new life abroad was nothing like the one she had left behind. She worked hard, taking multiple jobs to build her future. The money she had saved, along with the yuan she had earned, allowed her to live comfortably over the years. She climbed her way up with the help of friends she made abroad, securing a good job that paid her well. And I was determined to make something of herself, and she did. But no matter how busy she was, she never forgot about Williams and ITI. Every night, as she lay in her bed and thought about the two children she had left behind, 7 years passed like a blow. But the memory of Williams and ITI remained clear in her mind. One morning, as she sat in her apartment and received a call from Uda, her friend who had encouraged her to take the surrogacy offer. They talked about old times. And then Udra asked Eno, have you thought about going back to Nigeria? It's been 7 years old and opts her thoughts drifting back to Emma and Dee's home. Yes, I've been thinking about it a lot, she replied. It's time to go back and reclaim what's M with that decision made and began to make plans to return to Nigeria. She had built a new life abroad, but now it was time to go back and face her past. She was ready to reclaim her children, no matter what it took, and there you have it, lovelies.